Chapter 1651, Merit Obelisk. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios Boom. A grindstone-sized lightning ball crashed onto Miao Mingshen's back and exploded intensely. Guh. Miao Mingshen's body shook as he spit out blood. His pale face was even weaker now. He tried to concentrate and use an immortal killer move, vanishing from his spot and appearing several thousand steps away. But even there, lightning weaved and beasts roared. The situation was truly at its worst. To think that I would die here. Miao Mingshen was filled with despair. Wasn't Paradise Earth's true inheritance meant to be mild? Why was it so dangerous here? These questions were no longer the point. Miao Mingshen's immortal aperture had run out of immortal essence. Even though he had his immortal goo left, his escape earlier was the final struggle he could muster. The roaring of beasts almost burst his eardrums. The immemorial Thunder Phoenix attacked him again. Around him, none of the other 7 goo immortals were left. He had lasted the longest. The rest died one by one earlier. If I had known this, I would not have explored Paradise Earth's true inheritance, dying before even meeting the blue dragon whale. Ren Xiaoping, is going to die laughing after hearing this. Miao Mingshen was filled with regret, but he also felt very helpless in life. Who could predict everything that was going to happen, even if it was a dead end ahead? Even for the great wisdom path star constellation Immortal Venerable, could she predict everything? 1 inch come at me. Miao Mingshen sighed, straightening his back as he faced the Thunder Phoenix's sharp claws. With an intense pain, his vision fell into darkness. Did I die? Miao Mingshen was quite dazed. This time, a voice resounded. Lord Miao Mingshen, wake up, quickly wake up. Miao Mingshen opened his eyes. He saw Immortal Hua Dai's concerned look. She was standing beside him. Gui Qiyi, Feng Jiang, and Tua, even the one who died first, Chuing, were all around. They were all smiling. You guys, what happened? Miao Mingshen's eyes suddenly flashed. Wait, is this a test? You are right. We came to that conclusion too. Tua laughed loudly, replying. To think that the first test came before we entered the blue dragon whale. This was simply too dangerous. Miao Mingshen shook his head, feeling some lingering fear as he inspected his injuries. But he became stunned immediately that it turned out that his injuries were all gone. His goo worms were all intact. Even his immortal essence had been restored to its original state. This? Miao Mingshen raised his head. Was it all an illusion? Precisely. Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable is truly amazing. We did not notice it at all. We only realized after dying. Thinking about it, Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable was able to create reincarnation battlefield. This test was definitely not hard to put up. In history, Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable created such killer moves to deal with the rank 8 expert combat demon. Reincarnation battlefield was the peak of this series. After so many years, Central Continent's 10 great ancient sects has nurtured countless goo immortal experts using it. Miao Mingshen sighed to himself as his mind got clearer. I think this is Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable's warning. After experiencing death, we can give up many obsessions. Lord is right. The feeling of death is truly hard to forget. Feng Jiang sighed. At the same time, this is a test of our battle strength. Miao Mingshen, I have to admit that you are amazing. We saw your performance in the illusion. You lasted the longest among us. Tong Hua smiled. Miao Mingshen was joyful but also worried. Joyful that his great strength had increased his authority in this group, but worried because most of his methods were all exposed. After all, he was facing death. Why would he reserve his trump cards? Miao Mingshen suddenly thought of Fang Yuan. His gaze flashed. Chuing, to think that I worried and felt aggrieved about you so deeply, yet you were the one who saved the most energy. His words had deep meaning. Fang Yuan sighed as he showed a bitter look of shame. The truth is, I felt horrible when death approached. I was simply too unlucky. Why did the immemorial Thunder Phoenix target me? When I woke up, I was dazed for a long time before gaining clarity. With attitude goo, he had sincere and truthful-looking acting. Miao Mingshen stared at Fang Yuan intensely, but seeing his expression, his suspicions faded away. Then where are we? Miao Mingshen looked around, seeing that they were on a nameless island. The island was surrounded by vast blue seawater. extending to the horizons. There were schools of fish in the sea. Waves were moving slowly as winds blew. White seagulls were making sounds. Some were flying in the sky, while others were flying slightly above the sea level. We were about to ask you. We arrived here after waking up. We do not know where to go. Tong Hua said. Miao Mingshen nodded. Everyone, wait a moment. Next, he shut his eyes, using a mysterious immortal killer move. This was his unique way of locating the blue dragon whale, but just on the surface, nobody could decipher his method. After shutting his eyes, Miao Mingshen opened it again very quickly, showing shock and joy in his eyes. Everyone, as I expected, this is the immortal aperture world of the blue dragon whale. Miao Mingshen said some shocking things. What? The immortals were all very surprised. They more or less knew something about this Paradise Earth true inheritance. Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable subdued the blue dragon whale and awakened its immortal aperture. He had left behind a Paradise Earth true inheritance in this grotto heaven. 5 years later, many Gu immortals tried to find the blue dragon whale, but could not find anything. The Gu immortals were still prepared to see the true appearance of the blue dragon whale, but to think that they would arrive directly inside its immortal aperture. Paradise Earth Immortal Venerables arrangements. They are truly something we cannot comprehend fully. This means entering this place has no difficulty. Then why has nobody entered this place before us? Was the blue dragon whale too hard to find? Then what are we going to do now? Tong Hua asked. The immortals all focused their attention on Miao Mingshen. Miao Mingshen was quite satisfied with this situation. They had all arrived at the destination without separating. They still wanted to stick together. He did not waste his effort in consolidating his authority as the leader of the group. To speak the truth, I am not sure too, but since we are in the grotto heaven now, we have already succeeded in the first step. Next, we should find the hidden Paradise Earth true inheritance. This is an unknown place that has existed for many years. We do not know what lives here. To be safe, we should travel in a group. Even if anything happens, we can take care of each other. Miao Mingshen's words were acknowledged by everyone. Fang Yuan spoke at this time. I have a simple idea. Since we entered this place via Paradise Earth Immortal Venerables arrangement, this small island must not be simple. We should search around this island first. Nobody explored this place yet. Miao Mingshen asked. The immortals shook their heads. Some looked at Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan smiled bitterly. Even though I am the first person who got here and learned of the illusion, I was afraid of the lurking danger here. I have been guarding our current location since then. All right, let's split up and look around this small island. Miao Mingshen immediately gave them some missions. This island was small, with so many people around. They soon found clues. Quickly come to the center of the island. There is a rank 8 immortal Gu house here. A moment later, 8 Gu immortals stood in front of the immortal Gu house. This immortal Gu house had a peculiar design. From the outside, it looked like an obelisk made of gold. The surface of the obelisk had many inscriptions. Feng Jiang took a few glances and shouted, "So this is Paradise Earth's true inheritance." Immortal Hua Dai, who was beside him, frowned. It is really troublesome to inherit this true inheritance. The obelisk stated that this rank 8 immortal Gu house was a merit board. It was effective in the entire grotto heaven world. If outside Gu immortals wanted to gain Paradise Earth's true inheritance, they would need to do the missions on this obelisk and gain merits after completing them. The more merits they had, the more valuable things they could exchange for. If one did not accept this, they could only wait on this island. They could not leave and go to other places in the grotto heaven world. According to the inscription, we can only stay here for 300 days. Tong Hua said with a regretful tone. 300 days in terms of the Dragon Whale Grotto Heaven's time. What missions can we do in 300 days? Zheng Luozi's eyes flashed with bright light. There were only 10 missions on this obelisk. Each one was different. It meant that these Gu immortals were going to engage in competition later. The others were not stupid. They quickly realized this problem. The atmosphere became heavier all of a sudden. Miao Mingshen acutely sensed the change in the atmosphere as he spoke. Everyone, even though the inscription says that this is our first time here, we cannot be so sure. In my opinion, we should test if we can leave this island. I hope you can all research on this immortal Gu house. If you have a way of moving it, we can take it for ourselves. That would be wonderful. The immortals were deeply moved. This was a rank 8 immortal goo house. If they could break it and take parts of it, they would have great gains. Miao Ming Shun continued. When we looked around, we found a lot of cultivation resources on this island. They are in huge quantities. We should decide on how to split these resources. What do you think? The immortals would only benefit from this. Why would they disagree? Everyone cheered in acknowledgement. Chapter 1652. Choosing Mission. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios. The island was small, but it contained a lot of cultivation resources. With this size and amount of resources, they were clearly intentionally arranged. Fang Yuan and the other goo immortals looked around and scavenged for resources before redistributing them. Fang Yuan, as Chu Ying was a transformation path goo immortal, he obtained a lot of transformation path immortal materials. But because transformation path projected all paths, these immortal materials were of various types and paths. For example, soul beast cores were soul path immortal materials. But if a transformation path goo immortal has a way to transform into soul beasts, then this soul core was also a type of resource for the transformation path goo immortal. Fang Yuan used transformation path as the concealment to pick a lot of time path immortal materials. Zheng Luo Zi seemingly asked casually. Friend Chu Ying has a time path transformation? Why didn't you use it when we were in the illusion? Fang Yuan laughed. I am just being greedy. I am sure everyone knows about the demon Fang Yuan. These time path immortal materials can be sold in Treasure Yellow Heaven for many good things. But if I compete with everyone here, it will harm our relationship after all. Ha ha ha. That is a good idea, Chu Ying. Why didn't I think of it? Tua laughed. Zheng Luo Zi's eyes flashed with bright light. He stopped talking. After the scare from the illusion, these goo immortals finally had a change of mood. These gains were quite valuable after all, especially when Miao Ming Shun was not corrupt. He split the gains equally. The atmosphere of the group was quite lively. Half a day later, the immortals gathered before the rank 8 immortal goo house merit obelisk. According to the information on the merit obelisk, these resources were all arranged by Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable back then. It was to ensure that the goo immortals who did not want to accept the missions would still gain some rewards. Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable was truly a kind person. Tong Hua was in awe. Gui Qi pondered. All of us have acted already. We have tried to, but this island cannot be broken through forcefully. And this merit obelisk, we cannot unravel it with our abilities. Feng Jiang added. The immortals were silent. How could Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable's arrangements be so easily broken? Especially when all these goo immortals barring Fang Yuan were rank 7. Even though some were elites, against a venerable, they were nothing. Miao Ming Shun, I wonder what insight you have. Tong Hua asked. Miao Ming Shun shook his head. I know nothing about Paradise Earth's true inheritance. I am like all of you. In my opinion, since we cannot forcefully unravel Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable's arrangements, we only have two options. One is to ignore the obelisk's missions and stay here for 300 days. Once the time is up, we will likely be sent out. The second way is to follow and complete the missions on the obelisk. The immortals looked at each other. Undeniably, the resources on the island were all distributed already. Who would want to stay here for 300 days? The immortals had already gained something. Their interest in Paradise Earth's true inheritance grew as well. In their opinion, the cultivation resources on the island were just the appetizers. Paradise Earth's true inheritance was the true treasure here. But to accept missions, we will need to be acknowledged by the merit obelisk. The process is like a super clan's life tablet goo and soul lantern goo, but more restrictive in nature. If this is a trap, risk and reward are often interlinked. We came to explore Paradise Earth's true inheritance. Weren't we taking a risk? I am going to accept the mission. Since this is an arrangement of Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable, there must be no problem. The true inheritance is right in front of us. If we stop now, we will regret it for life. After some discussion, none of the 8 goo immortals wanted to give up. According to the inscription, the 8 immortals went up and placed their palms on the merit obelisk. With a bright flash of light, the 8 immortals' names were all displayed on the obelisk. The blank area earlier turned into a list. Fang Yuan's name was there too, but Chu Ying was written instead. This made Fang Yuan let out a sigh of relief that he had inspected this merit obelisk already. It mainly comprised Earth Path. And Sound Path, he could not deduce it. Of course, there was a chance of destroying it with Fang Yuan's battle strength. But the risks were too high. He was better off disguising himself and exploring with the others. The Gu immortal world was filled with countless methods. This merit obelisk was a rank 8 immortal Gu house made by Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable. It had a high possibility of exposing his true name. Thankfully, that did not happen. Otherwise, Fang Yuan would have to kill everyone around if he got exposed. His identity was too important. These people might have some peculiar methods. Even if they did not, it would be bad if Heavenly Court was lured over. Before I understand the situation, I should not attack them. This is Paradise Earth's true inheritance after all. He emphasized on forgiving people for their mistakes. He was kind and magnanimous. If I kill people randomly, something bad might happen. The 8 immortals were listed on the merit obelisk. They started to look at the missions. There were only 10 missions written. Each mission had a vague description. The Gu immortal needed to explore it themselves. For example, the first mission, exterminate the surrounding water monsters around Sea Eagle City. Water monsters were similar to soul beasts. They were both Tao beasts that had various forms. Most of them would dissipate after dying, leaving behind water cores or soul cores. These were immortal materials filled with abundant water path and soul path Tao marks. But what level were these water monsters? Were they ancient level water monsters or desolate beast level water monsters? There was no information. Sea Eagle City? What was that? Where was it? There was no information. There was still some clues regarding exterminating water monsters here, but the remaining missions were weirder. For example, creating a water well in Fish Round Island, or gathering medicinal herbs for 3 Tattoo Tribe, maintaining a spirit spring, protecting the merchant caravan, fixing the formation, and others. The 8 immortals looked at the merit obelisk. After thinking for a while, Zheng Luozi sighed. My information path methods are useless against this rank. 8 immortal Gu house. Whatever mission we choose is based on luck. Let me try first. I will choose the first water monster extermination mission. The others were silent. Even though Zheng Luozi said that the missions had differences. Using logical deduction, the harder the mission, the greater the merits. Water monsters were at least desolate beasts. The mission of eliminating them was naturally difficult. The merit reward should be quite high. As for maintaining a spirit spring, protecting the merchant caravan, and others, they were mortal level missions. The difficulty was lower than exterminating water monsters. Zheng Luozi's choice was clearly to snatch the best mission. The atmosphere in the group suddenly changed. Zheng Luozi remained silent, but he was a little nervous in his heart. Miao Ming. Shen nodded as he agreed and said, Go ahead, I will be the last one. Everyone looked at him with a different gaze the moment he said that. Miao Ming Shun waved his hand, saying, No need to overthink it. I just feel that Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable created such an arrangement with deeper intentions. How could he not think of balance? These simple missions might not be as easy as they seem. Everyone nodded upon hearing Miao Ming Shun's words. Tong Hua spoke. I choose the second mission. Tutu Tuam made his choice too. Their decision was the same as Zheng Luozi. They evidently chose the harder missions. After Tutu Tua chose the mission, there was still one seemingly hard one. The rest of the missions were all very ordinary. There were still 3 rank 7s left. They were Miao Ming Shun, Fang Yuan, and Gue Qi. Next, go ahead and choose. Chewing. Miao Ming Shen took a look and smiled. Feng Jiang and Immortal Hua Dai were beside him. They did not speak. Wait. Gue Qi suddenly interjected. Everyone, Lord Miao Ming Shun, to speak the truth, I wanted this mission from the start. The immortals' expressions all turned weird. Miao Ming Shen looked at Gue Qi, showing a gaze of shock and criticism, but Gue Qi ignored him. He looked at Fang Yuan eerily. Picking on the weakest person? Fang Yuan chuckled in his heart, saying, Gue Qi, since you like it, this means that the mission has an affinity with you. I will not snatch it from you. I will choose the 7th mission. Everyone turned to look. This 7th mission was to collect earth trench black oil from the deep sea. It was something that only mortals would do. Miao Ming Shen quickly added, Chu Ying, no need to refuse it. I am truly in admiration of Brother Miao for having such a companion. You deserve it. If not for you, how could I have gotten in here? Fang Yuan laughed heartily. One Guiqi looked at Fang Yuan with a kinder gaze now. Indeed, he forcefully chose the mission not for himself, but for Miao Mingshun. Like what Fang Yuan had said, everyone could come here due to Miao Mingshun. He deserved it with his contribution. Miao Mingshun refused, but Fang Yuan persisted. Miao Mingshun was helpless as he accepted it that a moment later. Everyone made their choice. The merit obelisk shot out a pillar of light. The Gu immortals were all transported away once they stepped inside. Fang Yuan's field of vision changed. When he blinked, he was on an unknown island. I am a rank 8 Gu immortal, but that merit obelisk transported me with no effort. It seems to be the core of this entire grotto heaven. It is truly profound, as expected of Paradise Earth. Regarding these missions, he had a similar conjecture to Miao Mingshun. He gave up that mission earlier not because he was courteous, but because he was probing Miao Mingshun. After Fang Yuan left, only Guiqi and Miao Mingshun were left. Oh you, Miao Mingshun sighed. Guiqi cupped his fists. Please forgive me, Lord. What wrong did you do? It is just that you underestimated Chuang. He was the first person to die in the illusion, so you think he is weak. Miao Mingshun shook his head. Lord thinks Chuang is hiding his strength? Miao Mingshun shook his head. I did not detect anything. The possibility of that is small. But in this unknown environment, we should unite instead of having internal conflicts. Yes, I understand. Chapter 1653, Previous Lives Most Beloved. Chapter 1653, Previous Lives Most Beloved. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios. With Fang Yuan's investigative methods, this island was completely transparent in his eyes that he found that this island that the merit obelisk transported him to was very common and ordinary. There were few resources on the island. There was a small fishing village with some people living there. There was a fishing village, a spirit spring existed as well, of course. Gu masters existed here too, but in such a poor and desolate place. A rank 4 Gu master was the utmost limit. Fang Yuan had accepted the mission to collect earth trench black oil from the deep sea. After he investigated, he soon found that there were traces of black oil oozing out near the fringe of the island. Other Gu immortals might go into the sea to collect the black oil already, but Fang Yuan did not do that. The moment he saw the merit obelisk, he started to think about Paradise Earth. Immortal Venerable's intentions, he concealed himself as he entered the fishing village. It did not have many people living in it. There were only 5 or 6 Gu masters. The highest cultivation was a rank 3 Gu master. It could not compare to Guyu clan on Qingmao Mountain. Back then, Guyu clan had about 10 of such villages under it. Fang Yuan directly approached the sole rank 3 Gu master in the village. This was an old man with white hair and deep wrinkles. From what others said, he was the village head. Fang Yuan was quite satisfied. Having high authority and being old, he naturally knew a lot of things. Soul search. Fang Yuan used his immortal method. The old village head's secrets were all exposed. Instantly, Fang Yuan gained a lot of information that was rather precise. As he expected, this village was very ordinary. There were many of such villages around the island. This fishing village doesn't seem to have any trap. Fang Yuan realized this and left the village secretly. The old village head only felt dazed for a moment. Even though it was a bit weird, he went on with his business soon after. Fang Yuan's soul search method was simply too incredible for mortal Gu masters to realize. Fang Yuan left the island and flew to the surrounding islands. But Fang Yuan experienced what happened on the Merit Obelisk Island earlier again. Even though he could see a small island in the horizon, no matter how he flew, the distance did not shorten. After using all his methods, Fang Yuan still returned helplessly. Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable cultivated Sound Path in his early years before converting to Earth Path later. This method of controlling distance is his signature move. There were many battles in history that showed Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable standing on the spot as his enemies attacked. No matter what they did, their attacks could not reach him, even though the distance was short. Other than that, Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable has an extremely alluring method. That was to create paradise. Paradise. This was also the reason for Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable's title. Nobody knew how a paradise was created. But Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable left behind many paradises in the 5 regions and 2 heavens. That a paradise's most distinct trait was the lack of calamities and tribulations. This dragon whale grotto heaven was transformed by Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable into a paradise. From the old village head soul, Fang Yuan obtained a lot of information that confirmed this. If there were calamities and tribulations, even if the old man could not feel it, there would be information in the village's historical records, but there was none. Since he could not go to the other islands, he changed directions and entered the water. As he got deeper, the water pressure intensified. This water pressure was a problem for Gu masters trying to excavate oil, but for rank 8 Gu immortals like Fang Yuan, it was an insignificant problem. For Gu masters, the sea was very deep, but for Gu immortals, the water surrounding the island was still very shallow. Fang Yuan soon found that a large area of darkness appeared in his vision. It was like a huge seaweed that endlessly extended in all directions. This earth trench under the water was very spectacular. The ordinary island was at the fringe of this earth trench. From the information he got from the old village head, the surrounding islands were also connected to the extensions of this earth trench. Earth trenches produced black oil, regardless of ordinary earth trenches or deep-sea earth trenches. Black oil was an immortal material belonging to food path. The quality was very high and production was abundant. It was easy to excavate. This was a trait of food path. Having high production with cheap costs, it was very economically friendly. Black oil was extremely helpful to immortal zombies. Spreading the black oil in the dead aperture could slow the speed of the disintegration of the blessed land. In the outside world, or to other Gu immortals, it was a very useful Gu refinement material that was widely used. It had a huge market point. One of the main business of Zombie Alliance was black oil. This was similar to Fang Yuan's Guts Gu, but the scale of black oil sold was much larger than Guts Gu. There are about 3 million kilograms of black oil here. I can take them all within half a day if I go all out. But I cannot leave the island after a certain distance. Even though black oil can move, it is much slower than water. After I take all the black oil here, it will take too long and be too inefficient to wait for the black oil from the other parts of the earth trench to flow here. Black oil was very easy to collect, but that was for Gu immortals. For mortal Gu masters, it was quite difficult. There was a special category of oil collecting Gu masters. They specialized in exploring earth trenches to collect black oil. These people were professionals in this business. Oil-collecting Gu masters had their own set of Gu worms specially used to collect a certain amount of black oil. Even though their battle strength was not high, because they were excavating immortal materials, they had abundant wealth and status. They were quite popular in the 500 years of his previous life. Fang Yuan had once been an oil-collecting Gu master in Eastern Sea. That was his fortuitous encounter. He almost became the son-in-law of a certain oil-collecting Gu master. The collection method was also imparted to Fang Yuan by this old Gu master. People lived according to their environment. The Gu masters on the small island survived mainly by collecting black oil. The old Gu master that Fang Yuan's soul searched was the most impressive oil-collecting Gu master in the village. Even though he was old, he would still enter the water and collect them each year. Seeing the black oil here, Fang Yuan could not help but recall some of his previous life's memories. He was once an oil-collecting Gu master. He entered the sea to collect black oil. But it was a dangerous job. He was treading on thin ice. The first problem was oxygen. Secondly, he could not go too deeply. The pressure would kill him. And the sea was not peaceful. There were many fierce beasts underneath. And finally, he needed specialized methods for the black oil. How could mortals not use special methods when collecting immortal materials? Especially if they did not collect the black oil well. It would pollute their bodies. The Gu master would be covered in black oil grease. It was hard to remove and carried a disgusting stench. As time passes, it would even corrode the Gu master's own mortal body. In his previous life, Fang Yuan had been polluted by this black oil. The old Gu master who taught him the method purposely did that, so that he would be forced to marry his daughter. He was furious back then and felt like he was plotted against. But thinking about it now, Fang Yuan smiled bitterly. The teacher had no son or inheritor. He had to do that, or he could not impart his family's unique methods to an outsider Gu master. He had no choice but to use that tactic. What was wrong with playing safe? It was normal, but back then, Fang Yuan was placed into despair. He had no alternatives. Without specialized methods, he could not clear the black oil pollution. Even if Fang Yuan knew the method, he needed the goo worms to do that. These reasons made him relent. Thinking of this, Fang Yuan felt a sense of his mindset back then that he was very anxious and in pain. He was greatly attracted to the profits of excavating black oil. He secretly swore that he would change the situation. For example, there were water path goo worms that could allow him to dive agilely. He could also design some goo worms to resist the water pressure. Currently, he could totally refine a bunch of immortal goo and create a huge quantity of useful mortal goo instantly, but he no longer needed them. Life often threw you into situations like this. At present, you lack some very crucial things, but when you obtain them, you no longer need them. That was why getting things when you needed them the most was called a fortuitous encounter. You had to treasure them if it happened. Back then when I extracted black oil, I almost died. But fortune and calamity come together. I actually met Mo Air when about to die. From that perspective, the old goo master did something good after all. Fang Yuan showed a complex and deep smile on his face. The white figure appeared in his mind once again. Her expression was both vague and clear at the same time. Her name was Xiehan Mo. Fang Yuan had never forgotten this name, because she was the person he loved the most in his previous life. Chapter 1654, Water Shell Goo. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios. Several days later, waves ebbed and flowed, crashing into the rocks and creating huge splashes. Putting it crudely, the unnamed island was poor and had treacherous waters. Firstly, the island was small, and secondly, there was earth-trench black oil here. Because of the black oil, the resources of other cultivation paths were suppressed. Nothing else could exist here. The greed of humanity was limitless. The concept of human path revolved around reducing deficits and increasing surpluses. The strong grew stronger. Meanwhile, heaven path took away surpluses while replenishing deficits. It emphasized on the balance of all myriad beings. Too precisely due to an immortal material like black oil, the unnamed island had almost no other resources. The size of the fishing village had been like this for centuries. Development was slow, and they could only nurture single digits of goo masters. They were truly few. Right now, at the center of the fishing village, in the village head's house, Fang Yuan was currently fighting against a rank 2 goo master. Boom, boom, boom. After some clashes, water splashed around. The middle-aged rank 2 goo master was drenched. He sprawled on the ground weakly. Fang Yuan was using Chu Ying's appearance as he stood on the spot. His arms were behind his back as he smiled lightly. From the start to the finish of this battle, Fang Yuan was standing on the spot, having not moved at all. The rank 2 goo master stood up weakly as he cupped his fists. Master Chu has incredible methods. I am in great awe. Thank you for the guidance, Master Chu. He was truly in awe. A few days ago, Fang Yuan disguised as a rank 4 goo master and entered the fishing village openly. He started to interact with the goo masters here. Back then, his appearance caused a commotion. There were usually no outsiders in the fishing village, especially not a solitary visitor. Fang Yuan's identity was a traveling goo master. He managed to make his presence in the fishing village. Undeniably, his appearance completely disrupted the original peaceful life of the villagers. Even a mortal without any cultivation would know that a strong goo master had entered their village. Traveling goo master. Such goo masters traveled the world. They had no home. They were usually alone, but some moved in groups of 2 or 3 as well. Traveling goo masters normally had great strength and few weaknesses. It was common sense. The world outside was not safe. Traveling goo masters were able to travel around. They naturally had sufficient strength to do so. This was not just in terms of battle strength. They also needed to take care of their accommodation, food, movement, and feeding of goo worms. Without enough strength, one could not become a traveling goo master. Thus, when Fang Yuan appeared, the goo masters in the fishing village became very alert. Fang Yuan's rank 4 goo master aura was extremely threatening to them. The first time they met, Fang Yuan claimed that he needed to feed goo. He asked for goo materials from the old village head. The old village head was the sole rank 3 goo master in the fishing village. Fang Yuan had searched his soul. He did not dare to reject the request. He had to agree. After the spar, The middle-aged rank 2 goo master approached the village head, shutting the door and readying their goo worms in defense. The two started to talk. The middle-aged goo master did not speak. He had a bitter and worrying expression. The old village head smiled. Now you know how strong Master Chu is? The middle-aged goo master nodded. Master Chu has unfathomable strength. Even if we join forces, we will not be his match. For saying so, he looked at the village head with an indignant expression. But why should we give him goo materials? His goo worms are hungry. That is his problem. Why must we solve it for him? Most importantly, our inventory was stocked up over the last few generations. He used up almost everything in just a few days. The old village head was silent for a moment before saying with deep meaning, traveling goo masters have a certain rule. They usually exchange for goo materials to feed their goo worms when they arrive in a new place. These goo masters are very strong, so local forces would usually not reject them. They would cooperate and improve their relationship. We should treat it as a chance encounter. The middle-aged goo master frowned. The anger in his voice became more prominent. Lord Village Head, you said it yourself. They exchange. But this Master Chu directly took the materials. He did not exchange anything for them. So what do you think? What can we do? The old village head looked at the middle-aged goo master. The middle-aged goo master was stumped. After a few breaths, his anger dissipated. His back became bent as his face was full of bitterness, pain, and helplessness. It is about time. At the other end, Fang Yuan smiled. The conversation between the middle-aged goo master and the old village head was under Fang Yuan's supervision. In fact, he knew everything inside this fishing village. A few days ago, he went into the deep sea and wanted to take some black oil. But afterwards, he had a flash of inspiration. He changed his idea. Fang Yuan realized, collecting black oil is nothing. The true key is Paradise Earth's true inheritance. I should test this situation. Thus, Fang Yuan changed his method. He disguised as a traveling goo master to enter the village. The next day, the old village head saw that Fang Yuan had visited him. He was filled with bitterness, but still showed a smile on the surface. He bent his back as he said, Master Chu, do you need more goo materials? Fang Yuan smiled. Old sir, thank you for the hospitality. I am about to leave. The old village head was dazed. Great joy surged in his heart, but he controlled himself. He showed a shocked and sad expression, urging, Master Chu, you are leaving so soon? Why don't you stay for a few more days? We would like to offer you more of our hospitality. Fang Yuan shook his head, joking. Old sir, I have imposed on you for the last few days. If I stay any longer, they might not spar with me anymore, but risk their lives to fight me next. The old village head was shocked as he smiled bitterly. So you know about it. Fang Yuan spoke calmly. I have traveled for many years. How can I not understand your mindset? I do not like to bully the weak, so before I leave, I will leave some things to you. The old village head was joyful but also a little suspicious. He waved his hand. Master Chu, no need for that. You are too kind. Call all of the goo masters here. Fang Yuan stopped smiling. He spoke plainly. A moment later, all of the goo masters in the village had arrived in the old village head's house, except the middle-aged goo master who sparred the previous day. Unfortunately, he went to the deep sea to collect black oil. He is going to miss out today. The old village head explained. Fang Yuan looked at him deeply as he smiled. Village head, you've worried too much. Everyone, look at this goo worm. Fang Yuan opened his hand, showing a rank 2 mortal goo. This goo worm was white and blue. It resembled a seashell and was large as a jade bracelet. Fang Yuan continued. This is water shell goo. It can form a layer of water as a shell on the goo master's body to resist the sea's water pressure. Using just this goo worm, you can go 6 li deep into the sea. The goo masters in the house went into a commotion. Rank 2 goo worm that can go 6 li down into the sea? Water shell goo. Why have I never heard of it? Fang Yuan smiled. Try it. After trying it for a while, the goo masters were overjoyed. They found that this goo worm had another advantage. It used very little primeval essence. This is a really rare and precious rank 2 goo. Someone said with a trembling voice. It is a pity there is only one. This person immediately got fierce stares from the village head. Fang Yuan laughed heartily. Don't worry, everyone will get it. Saying so, he took out more water shell goo. Everyone had their own one. Almost 10 water shell goo were handed out. Only one remained in Fang Yuan's hands. He passed it to the old village head. Give this to him. The old village head was very moved. He apologized in a choked-up voice. I was wrong. Master Chu is truly magnanimous. Fang Yuan gathered the goo masters in the village. The old village head was afraid that Fang Yuan was trying to wipe them out. What should he do? That was not impossible at all. People were hard to understand, especially when this was a stranger. Thus, the old village head placed the middle-aged goo master, his future successor, in a secret location. He was afraid of Fang Yuan's attack. Fang Yuan's act of giving the water shell goo made the old village head extremely happy and also ashamed. But Fang Yuan had just started. This is water shell goo's recipe. I will give it to you. Fang Yuan gave out 10 goo recipes to the goo masters present. They were all stunned. Giving goo worms and giving recipes were two different concepts entirely. Master Chu, how can we take it? The old village head received the recipe with trembling hands. No worries. Take a look at the content. Fang Yuan waved his hand. Everyone took a look as someone shouted, "Oh heavens! The core goo material of this water shell goo is the spiral seashell on the shore of our island's beach. The goo materials of this recipe can all be found on our island." Immediately after, someone shouted. Fang Yuan nodded. I have some insight in goo refinement. These last days, after sparring with several goo masters, I understood your lifestyle and cultivation method. While inspecting this island, I tried to look for useful materials. I created this goo recipe for your village. You must accept it. As he said that, Fang Yuan saw that the old village head had knelt down on the ground in an instant. The old village head kowtowed as he said, I was too blind to see Mount Tai. I did not know that Master Chu was such a genius in goo refinement. I am too ashamed. I actually misunderstood Master Chu's kindness. Before the old village head finished, Fang Yuan helped him to stand up as he smiled and said, Old sir, don't say that. I am someone who believes that a droplet received in need will be repaid with a whole spring. The goo materials I got from you were very helpful for my problem. Our encounter is a type of fortune. We need to treasure it. 2-inch, but I have just created this water shell goo. I am not sure of its exact value in reality. Why don't you select a few people to enter the sea with me? We can collect some black oil and test out its actual effect. We will do as you say. Chapter 1655, Collecting Black Oil. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios' vague water ripples were moving before the eyes. In extreme tranquility, a group of goo masters dived into the sea. The light above them became dimmer. The surrounding seawater was emitting greater pressure on them. Someone started to use water shell goo. The water shell goo that Fang Yuan invented was simply amazing. Almost the instant it was activated, the fishing village's goo masters felt their pressure reducing. Their bodies felt relaxed, as if they had discarded a ton of dead weight. The goo masters all showed joyful expressions, even though they had already tested water shell goo in their village earlier. But at this time, someone suddenly made an alert signal that a large number of weaving sea spiders were approaching them. These sea spiders moved very quickly underwater. They would split up when they encountered prey, shooting out their spider webs that would entangle the prey before they attacked. Seeing this group of sea spiders, the fishing village's goo masters turned pale. Even the rank 3 village head was full of fear. He could not calm down. The sea spider group was huge, and they were most skilled at fighting with numbers to defeat a stronger enemy with collective effort. Many sea creatures would often die to them due to a battle of attrition. Even rank 3 goo masters were not their match in a drawn-out fight. The deep sea had too much danger. On the surface, the sea was calm, but under the sea, undercurrents surged. Dangers lurked everywhere. No need to worry. Fang Yuan transmitted before waving his hand at the crucial moment, the next moment. The goo masters of the fishing village were so shocked their eyes almost popped out. A huge whirlpool formed instantly. It crashed into the sea spiders. It was like a tornado that swept away all of the sea spiders in it. Quickly leave. I cannot sustain it for long. Fang Yuan said purposely. The fishing village's goo masters realized at once and quickly dived deeper. After they got to a safe distance, the goo masters turned back to look. The whirlpool had started to dissipate. The sea spiders were completely disoriented. They had low intelligence and moved according to instinct. Seeing that the prey vanished, they gathered again and moved away. The goo masters relaxed at long last. Their gazes towards Fang Yuan was filled with admiration and reverence. The goo masters who fought against Fang Yuan earlier finally saw how powerful this Master Chu was. And most importantly, his method was very wise. If they fought in the sea, the blood would attract more problems. Trapping but not killing, that was the work of an expert. The group continued to move with Fang Yuan as their guardian. They met with no danger. Sea spiders were just one of the lurking dangers. Oil-collecting goo masters faced hundreds of types of aquatic beasts. Sometimes they would even get swept into special currents, helplessly moving along with them. In the following journey, some problems still occurred, but they were not disasters like the sea spiders. Diving and stopping continuously, after some hard work, they finally reached the earth trench. They did not need to dive into the earth trench, because there was a lot of black oil here already. There had been no goo immortals who came to excavate them. The earth trench was filled with black oil. At the same time, some gushes of black oil leaked outside. These black oil streams were like octopuses with long tentacles. They also seemed like seaweed, messy and scattered. The fishing village's goo masters quickly used their goo worms to get close to the leaking black oil. They started to collect the oil, moving around like worker bees. Fang Yuan did not act. He watched from afar. These goo worms specially used to collect black oil were the core and vital goo of these goo masters. Fang Yuan did not ask them about this in their previous interactions because it was taboo, but with his ability, he could understand everything with just a single look. His refinement path quasi-supreme grandmaster attainment level was not a joke. The #1 resource around this unnamed island is black oil. When I use this black oil as material to refine goo worms for them, their efficiency will increase. While he was thinking of this, suddenly, a huge group of seashell sharks approached them. These sharks opened their bloodthirsty mouths, full of shells that were used as sharp teeth. The seashell sharks were very special. They began life without teeth. Instead, when they grew up, they would choose seashells in the sea and put them in their mouths. As time passed, these seashells would take root and grow. The more years that pass, the whiter and tougher they would become. The seashell sharks would use the shells as teeth to tear prey that were stronger than seashell sharks apart. This special relationship made infant seashell sharks very weak, but when they reach adulthood, they would be overlords of the sharks. This group of sharks were attacking, be it individual or group strength. They far surpassed the sea spiders. But the fishing village goo masters were not afraid. They moved around the black oil terrain with ease and agility. From time to time, they would spray the black oil that they collected as barriers to shield themselves. Seashell sharks were huge and could not move easily in this black oil area. If the oil stuck to them, they would become slower and even struggle to move as the oil got thicker. The fishing village goo masters used the territory to quickly feed these seashell sharks to the black oil as food. These seashell sharks struggled until they had no strength left. They were slowly devoured by the black oil. Normally speaking, the black oil would take a long time to completely corrode these seashell sharks. All of their flesh, bone, and blood would turn into new black oil. Black oil was an immortal material that contained food path down marks. It was not safe. The earth trench filled with black oil was a dangerous area. Fang Yuan saw this as he sighed in his heart that he remembered that in the 500 years of his previous life, he had once seen how the black oil devoured its prey for the first time. From that day on, he had nightmares for several nights of the black oil sticking onto him and slowly devouring him without any hope of salvation. Normally speaking, oil-collecting goo masters would work in groups. They were afraid that the black oil would stick to them and kill them in the process of collection. But the oil-collecting goo masters in the fishing village would not form groups. It was too easy for disputes to arise, and encountering dangerous situations might cause everyone to perish. Right now, everyone grouped together, but it was a special situation. I advise that you try to drag out the seashell sharks that are trapped. These are all usable goo materials. Fang Yuan transmitted. Master Chu, these seashell sharks are polluted by the black oil. The old village had hesitated. Don't worry, I have a way to remove the black oil. Trust me, these seashell sharks are very useful for you. Fang Yuan smiled. He had designed a goo recipe that used these seashell sharks as the main material. Without water shell goo, these goo masters would not believe him. But after Fang Yuan displayed such strength, The old village head stopped hesitating. He ordered. You all heard him. Hurry up and do it. But be careful. Don't let the black oil stick to you. It is too troublesome otherwise. Not just troublesome. The price would be huge. Black oil was an immortal material. Once it got stuck, the food path Dao marks would be carved onto the Gu master's body. Just the problem of conflicting Dao marks would be fatal, and because they had mortal bodies, they could not endure the corrosion of the black oil. 1 inch, don't worry. I can remove the black oil on you even if it sticks to you. Fang Yuan spoke. His words made the Gu masters overjoyed, but even with his assurance, the Gu masters still acted carefully. They were afraid of touching this beloved and accursed black oil. The seashell sharks were all dragged out. Most were not dead. They still had some vitality. Falling into the black oil would not cause suffocation immediately to this time. A small surprise occurred. Look at what I found. A trapped mermaid. A Gu master dragged out a mermaid corpse. Her body was covered in black oil. Her appearance could not be seen, but from her build, it seemed to be a girl. She has some life force left. The Gu master who saved the mermaid said with surprise. Let me. Fang Yuan acted. The Gu masters were very shocked, because they saw that the black oil moved like an obedient child, getting away from the mermaid and gathering in front of Fang Yuan as a big black ball. Master Chu is truly unfathomable. Such methods. How much black oil can he get each time? Gu masters were in admiration and envy. Their respect towards Fang Yuan increased again. Don't worry, with me around, you will all be safe. Fang Yuan's action was just to reassure these people, but at the next moment, the smile on his face froze. His sight was stuck on the mermaid's face. He went into a daze. Mo air. 1.